Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my September reading wrap up. I am super excited to get into this because I have read some really good books this month. But before we get started, if you wouldn't mind doing me a massive favour, and if you haven't subscribed already, could you just press that little subscribe button and the little notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload. Let's get into the books I read in September. There was a mix. There was definitely a mix. I started reading a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books, but I only actually finished 9 of them. So first of all, we're going to go through my DNFs of the month of September. Now, I never used to be a huge DNFer. I never really liked the concept of DNFing because I was always like, what if it becomes really great? What if I'm missing out on something here by not carrying on this book? I then realised there's too many books, too little time. You need to just cut and run, move on to the next one. If you're not enjoying it, you're probably not going to enjoy it. So I've recently started trying to DNF more. Struggling to kind of stay into reading or stay into the vibe of reading is something that usually comes in like little spurts and I kind of get like into a bit of a reading slump, but it tends to go away and then I'm back to normal. But for some reason this month it's been quite sustained, which is a little bit unusual for me, but I'm hoping that we'll be back to our full reading strength in the month of October, so let's see. But the 2 books that I DNF'd this month were Kindling and Lotus. Now, Kindling was one of the books that I pulled from my TBR video and it had good prospects. I know lots of people have read it and really enjoyed it. However, for me, I was just finding it kind of boring and there wasn't really much chemistry between the FMC and the MMC. And for me, a romance is all about the chemistry. And if I'm not feeling the chemistry, I'm not feeling the book. So for me, it just fell flat and I decided to just let it go. Kind of the same thing with Lotus, to be honest. Lotus is a book about somebody that was kidnapped for, I think it was like 20-30 years, and he lived in a bunker under the ground and he was found. It's about his life, his reintroduction back to society with brother and his friend that he was friends with when he was very little, and I expected it to be much more emotionally charged than it was. I don't know what it was about it, but it just didn't hit for me. So I ended up DNFing both of those about 30%, so I tried to give it a good go, but it just wasn't for me. Next, we have the book that I started the month out with, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I haven't read an Emily Henry book for quite a few years, so I was quite excited to get into this book and see how it was. I found that I actually really enjoyed it, and I audiobooked this one. It was very good on audiobook. It was a classic romance. In fact, I will let you know what I thought. It was a classic romance, however, it had a different aspect to it in that it was a story more about friendship, I found, than like a romance. The basic premise of the book was that there was a couple who had become friends at university along with all of their other friends, or college should I say, and every year they go on this holiday together to a place that they have always kind of had these great memories at, etc, etc. And at some point within their past, these 2 characters became more than friends. They got into a relationship, they were actually engaged, and you start the book out in knowing that they actually split, but they felt they had to go on this holiday and basically pretend to still be together. So it was a bit like fake relationship or fake dating, but they had been together previously, if that makes any kind of sense. So it was not only a story about their relationship, it was also a story about the friendships and the dynamics and how they met. And it did go through both timelines, so back when they first met and also the current timeline, and I quite enjoyed that. But the biggest thing that I took from the book is that your happy place is not necessarily a place, it can be a person. And I really like that. It's about finding that happy place no matter who or what it is. There was a deeper meaning to the book, so it wasn't just like a really fluffy romance. So I liked that. And some of the tropes were found family, second chance romance, and fake dating. So if you're a fan of those, you might like Happy Place. Okay, next we have Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wang. I actually did a reading vlog and this featured very heavily within that. I audiobooked this and it was fantastic. Highly recommend this book. Now this is a YA fantasy and it was so original and unique to me. I didn't realise before I read it that this is actually a dark academia, so maybe I'm a dark academia fan now, who knows. I really enjoyed this. So the main tropes within Blood Over Brighthaven are, like I say, dark academia. We've also got patriarchal systems, gender injustice and class disparity. For me it felt really fresh and original because the magic system within the book was very unique. There was magic, there were spells, but they were very thought through, they were very mathematical, they were very precise. You'd have to identify the location in which you wanted to source or siphon the magic from. You'd have to do an action spell to say what the action that you wanted to perform was, and it wasn't just like a flick of the wrist, it's done, or you say a word and it's done, or you do something internally and it's done. It was very systematic and methodical, which was very unique and very new for me. It didn't feel too complicated though, that is one thing I will say. It didn't feel too complicated, and it did explore a lot of gender injustice and also class disparity, because the main female character, what was her name? Siona? I think her name was Siona. So performing magic and being a high mage was actually something that only men could do, but Siona decided that she was going to be the one to become the first high mage, and just the experience that she had was so different to what she probably would have experienced if she'd have been male, and that was it was nice. It was done in a way that wasn't like in your face and like annoyingly so, but it was done really well. And also the class disparity, so there are a kind of people called the Quen who were seen as lower class, and they are basically used as assistants, janitors, basically kind of slaves, and the experience that they had within the book and what happened to Siona and what she found out and how her thoughts had changed and how she wanted to make the world a better place for everyone was great. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I actually gave that 4.5 stars. Did I say what I gave Happy Place? I gave Happy Place 4 stars, but yeah, Blood Over Brighthaven was a 4.5 star. Highly recommend that one. So then next we were on another audiobook because, like I say, struggling to read, so I audiobooked everything. The Reality of Everything by Rebecca Yarros was a military romance. Obviously all of Rebecca Yarros's romances and military romances, but it was a single dad military romance, and it was neighbours to lovers, and there was a grief recovery element in there. So the main female character was a widow. This is where it gets a little bit complicated, but I don't want to give everything away. So all I'm going to say is she was a widow, and the man that she loved passed away. He was a helicopter pilot in the army. I don't know if it was like a specific section of the army, I can't remember, but he was in the army and he passed away, and she was experiencing grief. But she was experiencing grief to such a level that it was called complicated grief. I'd never heard of this before, and it's something that's explored within the book, and her journey in therapy. It was eye-opening. It was great from that perspective. And then you've also got a neighbour who is kind of, I would say he's potentially the sunshine and she's kind of like grumpy, and he has a daughter who is just literally a ray of sunshine, and they're dynamic and helping each other out, and I don't know, it's just really sweet. I really enjoyed it. But obviously there is that raw kind of grief element that may trigger some people, and the military side is slightly heavier in this one because of the grief aspect as well. But yeah, and also slow burn, so if you love that, obviously I'd recommend it. I gave that one 4 stars. That wasn't my favourite Rebecca Yarros romance I've ever read, but it was good. So that was The Reality of Everything. From there, we then moved on to this beast of a book, Diabound by Sable Sorensen. This was such a highly anticipated read for me, and I actually managed to source myself a Waterstones exclusive of this book, which is absolutely stunning. I've got the grey and rose gold one, which I absolutely love. Now this, I kind of had like high expectations, but in a way I kind of didn't. Like I know that there's so many people that have absolutely loved this. I kind of went into it knowing nothing about it and was refreshingly surprised that it lived up to what everybody said that it would. Now this is kind of difficult for me to explain, and again this was featured in my reading vlog, but I did struggle to brain words that day. So let me try and explain it. There is a world in which there is a war ongoing, and so people sign up to obviously become part of the army to go and fight in the war. I think it's randomly. They sometimes select a group of people that have enlisted to go into this test to try and become bound to a wolf, and these wolves are called dire wolves. They're like huge wolves, and they obviously have a magical aspect to them. They're not like normal wolves. These are like wolves on steroids, you know? And the main female character has decided, so Merrin, the main female character, has decided that she's going to enlist and go to the front because her sister was kidnapped. And she has this expectation that she's going to enlist, she's going to go to the front, she's going to go and find her sister. However, she happens to get put into this group of people who are going to go on this trial to see if they're going to become bonded by a wolf. But she has insider information, and she's told that if you don't want to become bound to a wolf, they won't bind with you. So you'll be fine. You've just got to get to the top of this trial, this huge mountain trial. You've got to survive, and you've just got to say in your head, don't bind, don't bind, don't bind to me. Like, just don't. And you'll be fine. And then you can go off and do your training. You can go to the front, and you will go and find your sister. Doesn't quite work out like that, and she ends up bound to a wolf. Now she's stuck in the bonding trials. She has bound to a wolf. She is now stuck because if she decides that she no longer wants to be there and she leaves, she severs the connection, and both her and her wolf die. So she has no option but to continue with the trials. And these are deadly trials. These are deadly trials. You can get murdered at any time. So yeah, it's kind of like people are right in what they're saying. It's kind of like Fourth Wing, but with wolves. It's kind of similar in like the premise, but nothing else is similar in that it's trials and there's an animal. So really it's not that similar to Fourth Wing. It just kind of gives those vibes. So I get why people explain it like that. But yeah, highly recommend this. Again, I gave it 4.5 stars. I don't know why I didn't give it 5, to be fair. Oh no, wait. I did give it 5. I did give it 5. Absolutely love this. There are so many twists and turns and revelations in this book that I was like, what? Now, one thing about me, I love figuring out a revelation or a twist to a book before it happens. It gives me like I don't know, it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. It's like, you got it, you're clever, well done. And I did that with this. Some of them, not all of them. And yeah, I loved it. This is a fantastic read, and I highly recommend that you get on it. Okay, next up we have my Patreon book club book of the month. Oh my god, that is a tongue twister. For September, and that was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I did an entirely separate reading vlog on this, exclusively for the Patreon members, and wow, I cried. I cried at the end of this book. I have a lot of thoughts, so I'm gonna kind of try and go over them for you without going into too much depth. This book I rated 4 stars. A lot of people in the book club rated it 5 because they felt a lot more emotional connection to the characters. For me, personally, I really struggled to connect with the 2 female main characters' relationship. So the basic premise for this book is that Joan is she's obsessed with space, she's obsessed with wanting to be an astronaut, and she applies to NASA and she gets into their program along with some other women. It's the first time they've let women become astronauts within the NASA program in 1981, I think, or was it 1980? That is an amazing feat. Obviously, it is incredible, and it kind of paves the way for the gender equality themes throughout the book. She meets Vanessa because Vanessa is one of the other recruits in NASA's program, and it goes along this timeline of their relationship, getting to know one another, but not being able to be free and be who they are. And it really explores the message of being in a woman loving woman relationship back in the 1980s, and you couldn't be free and be who you are. And that, I think, a lot of people really connected to. And I think for me, for some reason, I just didn't find the chemistry in their relationship really, which I know a lot of other people did, so I think that's a personal thing for me. Thinking about this, because we did have a discussion on Patreon Live and on video chat with the rest of the members of book club, and thinking about it more, I think it's because I didn't like Vanessa that much as a character. I thought she was kind of boring. I loved Joan. Joan was great. I think Vanessa was quite boring. The only time where I really loved Vanessa's character was when she was connecting with Frances, who was Joan's niece, and so I really enjoyed those parts. That's when she kind of shone for me as a character, but other than that, I found her kind of boring. But again, a lot of the girls did point out that that might be because she couldn't be who she truly wanted to be because of the fact that it was unacceptable that she loved women. So that was really unique. And then we have Frances, who's obviously Joan's niece, and the relationship between her mum Barbara and Joan was something that got me so mad, like so mad. When I tell you that Barbara is probably one of the most hated characters I've ever come across, I kid you not, I despised her. So yeah, there was that. And then there were a lot of really poignant moments throughout this book, and the gender inequality is something that really resonated with me, and I didn't really think an awful lot about until I read this book, and it kind of made me assess whether we still have some of those issues in today's day and age, which I really enjoyed. I think this book will make you think. It will make you think. There are some chapters in the book where you're actually on the space shuttle with some of the individuals from the team in 1984 when they're on a mission, and things aren't going quite to plan, and your heart is in your mouth the whole time. And I actually cried. Like, I cried. That last chapter hits you so hard. But what I will say is that for me, those shuttle chapters were 5 stars. absolutely loved them. The rest of the book, there were some aspects of it that were sort of more of a 3-star mark because they were a little bit slow at times, and like I say, that connection just wasn't there for me. And so obviously on an average I rated it 4. It is a really great book. It's very poignant. There's a lot of very, very, very good kind of talking points to this book, a lot of things that will make you think, which is great, and I highly recommend reading this if you haven't already and you think that it might be something that you will get on with. And if you do read it, let me know what you thought, because I'm very intrigued. Then we go on to When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I listened to this on audiobook from the recommendation from my lovely Bessie Doe. She raves about this series, and it was a sweet and classic romance. There were everything that you would want from a classic romance. It was easy to read, the characters were likeable, the MMC was fantastic, like there were no massive red flags. It was a very cutesy classic romance. We had Grumpy Sunshine, Forced Proximity, Small Town, Found Family. The one thing that I think sets it apart from others for me was that it was a pop star romance, because I haven't read very many of those, and it was quite interesting. Like the other ones that I have read, the pop stars had like a lot of issues in terms of like drugs, alcohol, things like that, whereas this was much more of a kind of pop, like it was not like a rock star romance, it's more like a pop star romance, in that there was a lot of expectation on her to be a certain way and to be that polite individual, and it was more about her family dynamics and things like that, which I personally prefer to like a rock star romance. So I really liked it. It was really good, and it was very easy to read. I rated it 4 stars, so yeah. It's especially good on an audiobook if you are into your audiobook era. Then we move on to a book that I never expected that I would be reading right now, but I'm very surprised at how much I enjoy it. So I have been struggling. I actually started reading Poppy War and I got 78 pages in, and I've had to put it down because, like I say, my brain is just not with it at the moment, and trying to get into a book, fantasy read, that's really kind of complicated and has a lot of thinking that you need to do just wasn't the right time for me. So I needed something that was easy to read, that was going to be gripping, that would make me obsessed to a point where I just could not put my book down. Like, I've been craving sitting and reading a book in one sitting because it's just that good. And so I remembered that, again, Bestie Doe recommended the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So I actually read The Naturals. Now this is sort of like a YA murder mystery, and it's quite unique in that I actually don't know if the Naturals are like magic of some kind, or whether it's just that they have a natural talent for something. I haven't quite figured that out yet, even though I'm a book in. I feel like maybe I've missed something. But either way, it's called The Naturals. There are a group of people that have I'm going to say a natural predisposition to being able to read emotions, detect lies, mathematical statistics, and also to profile people. And they're a group of these teenagers that are put together in an FBI program to hone those natural talents. There is an extra layer of that because obviously they are reviewing cold cases, they're not on active cases. However, the history and the backstories of some of the characters kind of make things a little bit more complicated, and so there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of twists and turns, there's a lot of jaw-dropping moments throughout the book. Honestly, I started this a couple of days ago. So today is actually the 29th. It's not the 30th. You'll be seeing this on the 30th. But today's the 29th. I started this on the 26th and I actually finished it on the 28th. So 2 days. It was so easy to read. It was gripping. I found myself flying through it. It gave me what I wanted. It gave me that kind of like, I need to keep reading. And the revelations really caught me off guard. Like, I did not see them coming whatsoever. They were so good, and I can't describe it. It just feels, if you've read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, she kind of writes in the same way as Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It kind of gives you that feeling. Super easy to read but really enjoyable. And I've actually started book 2, so I'm currently 55% into Killer Instinct, and I reckon I may even be able to finish that today or tomorrow. So I'll have finished Killer Instinct as well in the month of September. Now, I gave The Naturals 4.5 stars. It was absolutely incredible. Would highly recommend it, and the second one is shaping up to be just as good. So yeah, get on that series if you haven't already and you just want an easy YA murder mystery type book to get into. I think there's 4 books and a novella in the series, so it'll keep you busy for a while. Those were the books that I read in the month of September. Now, did I read everything that was on my TBR? No. Am I ever going to? Probably not, because I'm a mood reader, but I still enjoy doing it. Now it's time to film my October TBR video, and I'm super excited to see what we're going to have in the month of October. But if you've made it this far into the video, leave an orange heart emoji, because it's starting to get into the kind of cooler autumny months, and let me know which book was your favourite in the month of September. Bye guys.